My mother urged me to overlook my wife's infidelity just a day before our wedding. On that fateful day, I exacted my complete revenge. I frequently pondered the significance of what individuals refer to as gut instincts. It's a topic that comes up frequently. A voice whispers of unease, a sense that all is not as it should be. Yet they choose to dismiss that haunting intuition that in retrospect. I came to understand that my intuition had been persistently urging me for months leading up to my wedding day. It whispered that my fiancée Holly and my best friend Kylon were drawing too near, far beyond what was customary. But I was preoccupied, engaged in the relentless pace of my challenging role at a software consultancy, immersed in the intricate details of planning the wedding that Holly envisioned, and striving to meet the expectations of her discerning parents, Richard and Marjorie Chambers. Though I sometimes experienced a twinge of jealousy as I observed Holly and Kylon sharing laughter in a secluded corner, or caught sight of Kylon's gaze lingering on her in a manner that stirred discomfort within me, I found myself lacking the energy to confront those unsettling thoughts. Fatigue enveloped me, a heavy cloak woven from countless 12-hour workdays, compounded by the relentless stream of calls and errands that accompany a grand wedding. Though my parents were filled with love, they lacked both the resources and the expertise to meet the extravagant expectations that Holly and her mother imposed. I found myself balancing an overwhelming array of responsibilities, leaving little space to catch my breath. Yet, the warning signs were evident. For example, each time Holly and Kylon exchanged texts, much more frequently than one would expect from a best friend and fiancé, I would notice them smiling at their messages or alluding to inside jokes they chose to keep to themselves. If I were to inquire, "What's so amusing?" their replies would likely consist of nonchalant shrugs or lighthearted yet vague comments. Merely a lighthearted meme, an inside joke, something that likely wouldn't pique your interest, and so forth. I had been acquainted with Kylon since our freshman year in college. In that small dorm room, we forged a bond, enduring sleepless nights in preparation for finals, always ready to support one another in times of need. I thought we shared a bond akin to that of brothers, and perhaps that's why I was able to suppress my own worries. It was beyond my comprehension that he would so openly betray my trust. He is my best man, I reminded myself. He's there for me, isn't he? Indeed. Holly hailed from a background of considerable affluence. The Chambers family held a significant place in the community, with Richard Chambers deeply entrenched in local politics, while Marjorie Chambers reigned as the formidable socialite, attending every fundraiser and charity ball with her patronizing smiles. When I proposed to Holly, they reluctantly accepted me. Though not overtly disrespectful, they consistently made it a point to emphasize that I was elevating my status through marriage, that the Chambers name carried with it certain expectations to uphold. Their hubris was evident even in the details of the wedding planning. "We'll share the expense equally," her parents declared. Yet they advocated for an opulent venue, sumptuous centerpieces, a string quartet, and a guest list that swelled to nearly 300. My parents, a retired schoolteacher father and a mother who was nearing retirement as a nurse, had to tap into their savings to cover their portion. Regardless of how often I attempted to establish boundaries, it invariably concluded with Holly's mother proclaiming, "We can't cut corners, we're the Chambers, or consider what others might think. Do you want your bride to appear cheap on her momentous day?" Their choice of words irked me, yet Holly frequently aligned herself with her parents' views. She would bid me farewell, allowing them to revel in their merriment. After all, this moment was fleeting, wasn't it? Well-known final utterances. A week prior to the wedding, Keelan, with a confident grin, took it upon himself to manage the hotel reservations for guests traveling from afar. "You've got plenty to handle. Allow me to manage this," he remarked, displaying screenshots from his phone. It evoked memories of my college days, placing my trust in him with something significant. With a sense of relief, I expressed my gratitude to him. On the eve of the wedding, our families convened for the rehearsal dinner at the opulent venue. Holly, adorned in a gown of almost bridal white, danced gracefully among her father's relatives, who scarcely recognized my presence. My parents hovered uneasily, their discomfort palpable amidst the opulence surrounding us. From across the room, Keelan offered me sporadic thumbs-ups, a silent exchange of encouragement. Following the run-through, we transitioned to the lounge for a celebratory after-party. Joy filled the air, But then I realized Holly was nowhere to be found. The calls were directed straight to voicemail. A bridesmaid, feeling the weight of the moment, casually remarked that she was overwhelmed and stepped outside for a breath of fresh air. I merely shrugged my shoulders on the eve of the wedding. Perhaps she simply craved a moment of solitude. As time flowed steadily onward, Keelan faded from view as well. Initially, I found myself lacking in suspicion. Perhaps he had merely stepped out to fetch another bottle of champagne or something similar. Yet, a persistent whisper echoed in my mind, urging me to seek him out and to search for her as well. What began as a mere half-hour stretched into a full hour. With a spark of curiosity igniting within me, I reached for my phone, navigated through the endless scroll of social media, and sought out any updates from Holly or Keelan. Indeed, I found myself wandering into the realm of Holly's Instagram. In a fleeting moment of oversight, she found herself having uploaded a short story, only to erase it within mere seconds. Yet, the harm had already been inflicted. In that ephemeral moment, I discerned a hotel corridor, the shimmering design of the carpet, and a door number that peeked into view. It was certainly not the passageway at our wedding venue. A new location, a new accommodation. My heart tightened within my chest. The intuition I had buried for months surged forth with undeniable force. Experience it firsthand. I felt compelled to witness it firsthand. As I navigated the bustling streets adjacent to the hotel district, my thoughts surged with a flurry of potential explanations. Might she have ventured to a friend's chamber? Might Keelan be assisting her in retrieving something? My heart raced at the thought. What if they truly are together? That's unbelievable. It simply cannot be true. Yet, the part of me that had awakened completely would not be silenced. I was aware that Keelan had secured some recent hotel accommodations for guests. Yet the specifics eluded me. I parked my car and strolled into the lobby of a chic boutique hotel, scanning the front desk to see if they might recall my face from previous visits or perhaps from Keelan's group bookings. My plan was still taking shape. Yet fortune smiled upon me as I spotted Keelan's car nestled near the entrance. If that wasn't an indication, I couldn't fathom what could be. I ascended to the 8th floor. My gaze swept over each door number, hunting for the one I had caught a fleeting glimpse of in the Instagram video. Rooms 846 and 847. My heart quickened, every footfall reverberating through the stillness of the corridor. The darkness of the night enveloped the world beyond the windows, a deep and impenetrable blackness. The overhead lighting blazed with an intensity that seemed to lay me bare, stripping away my defenses before I could muster the courage to face them. Yet, I found myself reluctant to seek a confrontation, at least for the moment. A deep-seated urge compelled me to collect evidence, ensuring that I would never doubt my own sanity in the future. With a stealthy approach, I edged closer, my ear pressed against the door of room 847. At first, silence enveloped me with my heart racing. I cautiously reached for the handle and, to my astonishment, discovered that the door was not secured with a deadbolt from within. Within, it appeared that someone had thoughtlessly secured it solely with the electronic mechanism. In a twist of fate, Keelan had discreetly handed me a master keycard earlier this month, claiming it was for wedding emergencies. He had mentioned it, just in case something went awry with the guest rooms. I retrieved it from my pocket, inserted it into the slot, and after a brief pause, the small LED glowed green. The handle released with a gentle click. It struck me that they had handed me the means of their own destruction. A wave of nausea surged through me. I entered quietly without a sound. The room was bathed in a gentle glow, as soft shadows danced playfully across the walls. A soft, intimate whisper reached my ears, igniting a fire within me. On the expansive king-sized bed, Holly found herself entwined with Keelan, their skin exposed, her hair a wild tangle. She reclined languidly on the soft bedding, while Keelan hovered above her, a figure of intent focus. They engaged in a quiet exchange, the words eluding my grasp, yet her laughter resonated, providing all the insight I required. My anger erupted with such intensity that I instinctively clenched my hands into tight fists. My desire was to unleash a torrent of curses, to drag Keelan from the bed and pummel him into submission for his audacity in committing such an act. Yet a serene part of my consciousness urged me to pause, to reveal no emotion, to gather the evidence. I remembered that the wedding was set to take place in less than 12 hours. I yearned for them to stand at that altar beside me, convinced of my ignorance, allowing me to gradually dismantle their flawless facade. Letting them believe they had escaped unscathed with trembling hands, I lifted my phone, set it to video mode, and focused in. My thumb lingered just above the record button, poised in anticipation. Indeed, I reassured myself, they will want to witness precisely what you have captured. In due time that I captured a fleeting moment of them in bed, focusing on the nuances, Holly's expression, Kylon's stance, and the date timestamp nestled in the corner. Unbeknownst to them, I was present. Keelan leaned in, murmuring a promise of secrecy. "We'll never get caught," as Holly's soft laughter echoed in the air. The camera captured it, flawlessly. My whole being quaked with fury, yet I willed myself to stay quiet, lest they perceive my turmoil. Avoiding conflict. This moment is not suitable. I recited that mantra repeatedly, a steadfast anchor for my sanity. Once I gathered sufficient footage, I meticulously stepped back, capturing the scene as I withdrew, ensuring the phone's microphone recorded every excruciating detail that I shut the door, as silently as I had first opened it. In a rush, I dashed down the hallway, almost sprinting toward the elevator. It was as if a bomb were fastened to my chest, poised to explode with the dawn of the next day. The night air hit me with the force of a sudden plunge into icy water. My heart raced as if I had just completed a grueling marathon. Raging torrents surged within me, poised to erupt into a scream or a complete breakdown. The phone rested heavily in my clammy grip, a stark reminder that those I had placed my faith in had betrayed me in the most painful way. After taking a moment to regain my composure, I steadied my breath, slipped into my car, and drove without a destination in mind until I stumbled upon a 24-hour diner. In a worn booth, I quietly examined the footage that dispelled any uncertainty. It was then that the seeds of a ruthless scheme began to germinate. If their intention was to bring me to shame, they had certainly succeeded with finesse. Yet, I would not stand alone in the face of humiliation come tomorrow. Sleep eluded me that night. By 5 in the morning, I had consumed 3 cups of coffee, jotted down notes for my wedding presentation, and mentally practiced how to orchestrate the schedule to ensure I had command of the microphone and projector. The venue was equipped with state-of-the-art audiovisual technology, allowing us to present a captivating slideshow that chronicled our childhoods and the significant milestones of our relationship. I had carefully assembled a collection of Holly's baby photos, my own somewhat awkward teenage images, and cherished moments captured of us together at the beach. Everything could vanish in the blink of an eye that I was intimately familiar with the system, capable of redirecting the feed to any device I desired. A thumb drive, a phone, or any external source that caught my fancy. A part of me lingered in uncertainty, shadowed by the awareness that I would be revealing a fragment of a deeply personal and intimate moment. Yet, a memory surfaced, one that revealed their clandestine actions the night prior to the wedding, executed without my knowledge. The harshness of that treachery, in my view, warranted the intensity of my retribution. Every action carries its own set of consequences. As the clock struck 6:30 a.m., I made my way back to the apartment that Holly and I had called home for nearly a year. It came as no surprise that she had yet to return. If she believed I was unaware, perhaps she had crept in during the early hours, quietly entered the guest room, and intended to feign that she had merely gone out for a night with friends. Yet, upon opening the door, I found everything untouched, just as we had left it. The living room lay in darkness, while the bedroom remained meticulously arranged. I entered the bedroom that had once radiated warmth and comfort. Now it seemed like uncharted land. Upon the bedside table, I noticed her phone charger resting quietly. The ring box I had gifted her remained prominently on the dresser. The ache of heartbreak ignited once more, yet alongside it surged a tide of anger. She discarded all that we had created for a fleeting affair with my closest companion. I silenced my phone, hoping to steal an hour or two of rest, yet my thoughts refused to settle. At approximately 9 a.m., Holly made her long-awaited appearance. The gentle sound of the door unlocking reached my ears, a soft beep that signaled an opening to the unknown. I feigned slumber, holding my breath to catch the sound of her soft footsteps approaching. Indeed, her footsteps were delicate, almost as if she wished to avoid disturbing my slumber with questions about her whereabouts. She refrained from casting even a glance into the master bedroom. I caught the sound of her entering the guest room, likely to tend to her appearance with a touch of finesse. 30 minutes later, I stepped out, pretending to yawn as if nothing was amiss. She sat at the kitchen island, her hair neatly brushed, clad in a casual t-shirt and comfortable sweatpants. She offered me a weary smile. "Good morning, darling," she said. "Last night I found myself sharing a space with a friend. Excessive wine at the rehearsal dinner, you understand the situation, right?" I returned the smile, my mind swirling with memories of the video from the night before. "It must have been quite the soiree," I replied with a measured tone. "I'm simply relieved to know that you're all right." I pressed my lips lightly against her cheek, battling the temptation to unleash a sharp remark. Her eyes danced with a hint of relief, perhaps tinged with a touch of caution, that I came to the realization that she is attempting to decipher my thoughts. She likely fretted that I had an inkling of the truth, yet my countenance betrayed nothing, save for a hint of quiet acquiescence. Imagine for a moment that you have successfully eluded the consequences. I needed to maintain the facade for just a little while longer. The wedding was scheduled for noon at the prestigious Wentworth Country Estate, selected for its esteemed reputation. My parents arrived at 10 a.m., brimming with excitement, yet oblivious to the tempest lurking just beneath the surface. I welcomed them with empty embraces. My mother radiated joy in her soft-hued dress. My father gently patted my back, perhaps reminiscing about the quiet boy I used to be. With a strained smile, I informed them of my unexpected AV obligations. Arrangements. Until we meet again, I in their suite. Holly and her bridesmaids busily attended to hair and makeup, each detail a cherished part of the day. Keelan was probably in the groomsman's room, yet I had no desire to seek him out. Allow him to believe I remained oblivious, that I quietly entered the AV, a booth that gazes out over the ballroom. Tony, the technician, meticulously tested the microphone and projector, ensuring everything was in perfect working order. He spoke of the groom, Daniel, to a colleague. "He has some additional items he wishes to present, doesn't he?" "Indeed," I affirmed with a casual smile. From the depths of my jacket pocket, I retrieved a flash drive. A surprise video awaits. Rather than the typical couple slideshow, I plan to embark on something far more, shall we say, theatrical. Tony let out a soft chuckle. "Greetings, today marks a significant milestone for you, my friend. Please ensure you provide me with the cue so that I can replace the files accordingly." I gently tapped the flash drive. "I shall provide you with a signal. Perhaps I'll simply declare, 'Let it roll.' Rest assured, it will not be something you long for." A thin shard of guilt nibbled at my conscience, yet I suppressed it resolutely. This was a consequence of their own making. The ceremony was set to commence at the stroke of noon in the grand ballroom, a lavish venue adorned with soaring ceilings, shimmering crystal chandeliers, and carefully arranged chairs awaiting the guests. By 11:50, the venue was almost at capacity. Excited voices filled the air as individuals captured moments with their cameras, sharing friendly greetings and laughter. The bride's side was substantial, characterized by the chamber's social elite, local dignitaries, business associates, and an expansive family network. My intimate circle of close friends, colleagues, and relatives was present as well, albeit eclipsed by the throng in the chamber. The arrangement had me, the groom, standing at the altar alongside the officiant, patiently awaiting the entrance of the wedding party. Yet, as the clock struck 11:55, I found myself absent. The officiant, a longtime companion of Richard Chambers, surveyed the scene, a look of bewilderment crossing his face. Holly's father glanced at his watch, a frown etching across his face. My mother shifted in her seat, a flicker of anxiety crossing her features. Marjorie Chambers, clad in a prim lilac suit, furrowed her brow as she leaned in to whisper to a few guests, "Where on earth is Daniel? Is he perpetually this untrustworthy?" She relished every opportunity to chip away at my confidence. Holly, tucked away in the shadows, would surely be in a state of panic by now, though I was absent to witness it. From the vantage of the second-floor balcony, I observed, concealed by the curtains, as I surveyed the throng, gauging the palpable energy that filled the air. As the clock struck 12:01, the moment had arrived for the doors to swing open, heralding the start of the bridal processional and its place. A haze of uncertainty lingered, accompanied by a soft chorus of unease. Flawless. It's time to unveil the truth that I quietly returned to the AV booth, where Tony lingered anxiously above the soundboard. He caught sight of me and remarked, "Hey man, we're about 2 minutes behind schedule. Are you all right?" Without a doubt, I responded with a measured smile, moving toward the microphone linked to the overhead speakers. My heart pounded with such intensity that I feared my ribs might shatter. Yet it was the fire of rage and the surge of adrenaline that propelled me forward. Let us embark on this journey. I activated the microphone switch. In the vast expanse of the grand ballroom, my voice reverberated through the air. "Good afternoon, everyone." A profound silence enveloped the gathered audience. They glanced about, anticipating my presence at the altar that I in place of any presence. They encountered only emptiness. Chaos erupted. Holly's father rose to his feet. Surveying the surroundings, Holly's mother pressed a hand to her heart. "Greetings?" the officiant inquired, a look of confusion crossing their face. "I extend my heartfelt gratitude to each of you for being here." I continued through the speakers. My demeanor remained serene. Yet within me, a tempest of vengeance swirled. A subtle shift in our plans is on the horizon before the ceremony commences. In truth, a ceremony will not take place. Gasps cascaded through the hall, an undulating tide of astonishment. Onlookers stretched their necks, eager to discern where I was hiding. Some even rose to their feet, straining to catch a glimpse of me near the sound system. Holly must have been unraveling in the bridal suite. Tony cast a wide-eyed glance in my direction. I gestured for him to start the video. He hesitated, plugged in my flash drive, and lingered for my signal. Before we allow ourselves to spiral into frustration, I declared, my voice echoing through the space, "I have something to share with each of you, a short video. Tony, if you please, roll it out on the grand projector screen." Once alive with a looping slideshow of joyful moments shared between Holly and me, the image abruptly vanished. For a fleeting moment, the screen plunged into darkness. Suddenly, a grainy yet unmistakable video began to unfold before our eyes. The footage I had recorded merely 12 hours prior. Holly and Keelan found themselves entwined in the bedsheets, their voices rising and falling, while the date and timestamp glowed softly in the lower right corner. I had refined it just enough to emphasize the instant Keelan's gaze met the camera. Even though he remained oblivious to my presence, I had focused in closely, allowing one to discern the clock position behind them, unmistakably marking it as the evening prior to this wedding. Gasps of disbelief filled the air. A silence of incredulity descended, swiftly replaced by a tumult of indignant murmurs. Several guests stood in shock, hands covering their mouths. One elderly aunt let out a piercing shriek. "Oh dear Lord." Richard Chambers, caught off guard, almost lost his balance and fell into his seat. Marjorie's face twisted in a grimace, as if she had ingested something caustic. Keelan, likely situated in the groomsmen's lounge, may have caught the sound of gasps and come to understand the unfolding situation. "It's too late now, my friend." From my vantage point in the booth, the sound of frantic footsteps and urgent shouts reached my ears. The officiant gazed at the screen, a sense of helplessness washing over them, utterly powerless in the moment. A bridesmaid released a heart-wrenching cry. From a distant corner, a voice broke through the air, urging, "Someone turn that off." I chose to allow it to play for a complete 10 seconds, ample time for all to take in the date stamp, the vivid imagery, the realization that it involved my fiancé and my closest companion. With a decisive motion, I severed the connection. The screen dimmed once more, yet the cacophony of screams persisted unabated. The whole crowd was engulfed in chaos. Tony's visage bore a ghostly pallor. "What on earth, my friend?" he murmured softly, yet I chose to distance myself from the microphone. Below, I caught sight of Holly emerging at the entrance, her wedding gown flowing around her, her face etched with terror. Her hair was artfully arranged, her makeup impeccable. Yet beneath it all, her anxiety was unmistakable. "Turn it off!" she screeched, her voice laced with desperation. She appeared to have arrived just moments too late to witness the actual footage, yet the stunned expressions around her conveyed all she needed to know. Marjorie hurried to the projector, her finger stabbing emphatically at the staff. Who allowed this to unfold? She unleashed a sharp spit. Tony, huddled in the booth, found himself without a moment to reply. Richard Chambers charged down the center aisle, bellowing with the ferocity of a raging bull. "Where is Daniel, I wonder?" He spun in circles, his face a deep shade of crimson. The guests drifted away from him, caught in a web of indecision, torn between the urge to remain and the instinct to escape. My mother wept, her eyes glistening with sorrow. My father positioned himself beside her, a fierce glare directed at the Chambers, as he sought to unravel the unfolding mystery. Some of Holly's relatives recoiled, gripped by fear that the scandal would cast a shadow upon them. A woman in the second row collapsed, her companion urgently shaking her shoulder and pleading for water. This was sheer chaos. Holly swept her gaze across the throng, meticulously examining each nook and cranny. The train of her gown trailed behind her, reminiscent of a spectral presence at last. Her gaze landed on me from the second-floor balcony. I advanced, peering down over the railing. The whole congregation turned their eyes toward me, as if I were the ringmaster of a rather sinister circus. "What occupies your time at this moment?" Holly let out a piercing cry, her voice trembling with indignation. "It is forbidden for you to lay eyes on me before the wedding, you coward." An unusual grievance given the situation. A peculiar sense of satisfaction washed over me, knowing that amidst the chaos, she still held tightly to the age-old superstition of keeping the groom from catching a glimpse of the bride. "There will be no wedding," I declared, allowing my voice to resonate through the air. "Last night you took care to ensure that." She stood still, tears shimmering in her gaze. "Daniel, I implore you, let us discuss this matter privately, away from the eyes of the crowd." "Why not?" I retorted. "You had no qualms about betraying me with my closest companion. It seems only fair that those who invested their time and resources to travel here should be informed about the reasons behind the cancellation of the ceremony." Her mother, seething with anger and flushed with rage, directed an accusatory finger towards me. "You have tarnished the reputation of the chamber before all these distinguished guests. Are you not aware of the humiliation this brings upon us?" I chuckled, a harsh, jagged sound escaping my lips. "Embarrassing?" Holly and Kylon brought me to the depths of humiliation. I am merely repaying a kindness. A sudden stir erupted at the front of the room. Kylon stepped into view, clad in his half-finished tuxedo, his hair a chaotic mess, and his eyes brimming with alarm. "Daniel, we need to discuss this matter." He made an attempt to draw near the dais. I hurried down the stairs into the main hall to confront him. Holly was right there, desperately trying to impede my progress. Her voluminous white gown obstructed my path, and I pushed through the obstacle. A wave of fury washed over me, leaving me feeling utterly unwell. My fists tightened with such intensity that they throbbed with pain. Kylon faltered, saying, "You really took that out of context." She was upset. Indeed, I simply couldn't bear to listen to him any longer. The visions of them entwined in slumber, captured by my phone, echoed in my mind. A tempest of rage surged within me, and I struck him across the cheek. The strike resonated powerfully, shattering the silence that enveloped the audience. Kylon faltered, collapsing onto the floor with a muffled groan of agony. A collective gasp swept through the audience. Holly cried out, "Stop it! You're hurting him." She knelt beside Kylon, disregarding the way her dress gathered around her. Marjorie emitted a choked gasp. "You fiend! Attacking him before the eyes of all?" I gestured toward Kylon, who was grappling with the effort to rise. "He is the beast, accompanied by your daughter." They orchestrated my downfall, crafting a scene that unfolded right before my eyes. At this moment, the world has unveiled their true identities. A heavy silence draped itself over the hall. Holly fixed me with a piercing gaze, tears cascading down her cheeks. "Daniel, I sincerely apologize, all right? Cease this immediately." I glanced at the guests, a number of them engrossed in their phones, recording each moment of the unfolding chaos. "Thank you all for gracing us with your presence," I remarked with a hint of sardonic elegance. "Yet the wedding shall not take place today. I apologize if you were hoping for a lovely ceremony. What you receive is the unvarnished truth." With that, I burst forth from the main hall, flinging the heavy double doors wide open. My parents trailed behind, a mix of astonishment and determination etched on their faces. Holly cried out for me, yet I remained steadfast, unwilling to turn my gaze behind. I navigated the familiar streets back to our apartment, the rush of adrenaline coursing through my veins. My mother walked beside me, her face a portrait of horror, tears glistening in her eyes. "Daniel, is that truly your conviction? Was everything truly real?" Upon our arrival, she inquired softly. I nodded, presenting her with the original unedited clip, marked with the timestamp from the night prior. Her expression shifted to one of complete disbelief. "Oh, dear God," she whispered, enveloping me in her embrace. "I sincerely apologize." My father lingered in the shadows, grappling with the right words to express his thoughts. "You acted in accordance with necessity, my boy." He rested his hand on my shoulder, yet the sorrow in his gaze was unmistakable. "We may have sacrificed a significant amount of money for this wedding, yet we would choose that over witnessing you live a falsehood." I expressed my gratitude to both of them, urging them to return home and take some time to rest. They departed, despite numerous affirmations of their unwavering affection. In spite of it all, a lingering sense of guilt washed over me for the way the wedding had spiraled out of control. My parents were forced to endure that degrading display after giving up so much. Yet, I found myself at a loss for any other way to address the situation. Silently calling off the wedding would not have provided me with the resolution I sought. The truth had to be laid bare for all to see. Once I found myself alone, I began the task of removing Holly's belongings from the apartment. That very night, I dragged boxes from the depths of the closet, gathering her clothes, her vast array of shoes, her makeup kits, and even those eclectic decor pieces she had been so adamant about keeping. I arranged them with great care, inscribing the boxes with a bold black marker. In the stillness of the night, I secured a modest U-Haul trailer through an online rental, filled it to the brim, and set off towards her parents' grand estate. The mansion loomed large within the confines of its gated community, a testament to the chamber's grandiose self-importance. The security guard at the entrance, familiar with my past visits, eyed the U-Haul with a hint of concern and inquired, "Everything okay, Mr. Harper?" "I am merely delivering Holly's possessions," I stated calmly. He swung the gate open. I came to a halt just beyond the entrance, beneath the imposing portico, where the stone pillars and the expansive mahogany door loomed overhead, casting an air of authority around me. Though my anger continued to bubble beneath the surface, an unusual sense of tranquility enveloped me. The rush of adrenaline had faded, and the weight of my choices began to settle in. I arranged the boxes with care upon the doorstep, struck the brass knocker firmly once, and then turned to make my way back to the truck. As I departed, a light flickered to life within. It was likely Richard or Marjorie, arriving to investigate the audacious soul who had the audacity to disrupt their peace at such an hour. Allow them to uncover the cherished possessions of their beloved daughter. She was welcome to settle into her former bedroom. As far as I was concerned, the next morning, I was roused from my slumber by the relentless pounding on my apartment door. For a fleeting moment, I wondered if it had all been a figment of my imagination. Then, the unmistakable voice of Richard Chambers echoed through the air. "Reveal yourself. We are aware of your presence within." I slipped into a t-shirt and flung the door wide, only to be met by Holly, Richard, and Marjorie standing in the hallway, their faces etched with stormy fury. Holly's eyes were swollen and crimson, her hair a wild tangle. Richard stood tall in a meticulously tailored suit, his fists tightly clenched, exuding an air of authority. Marjorie donned a coat that exuded luxury, her hands confidently gripping a formidable stack of papers. "It's time we discuss compensation," Richard declared. I stifled a weary chuckle. Remuneration? What purpose does it serve? Marjorie thrust the papers toward me with a sense of urgency. The debacle of the wedding, without a doubt. We invested tens of thousands of dollars into this event. Let us not overlook the costs of accommodation, the provisions, and the necessary reservations made in advance. Your display shattered the entire experience. I cast my eyes over the detailed receipts. It seems you might not be aware that your daughter was unfaithful to me with Kalen last night. I am quite convinced that they are the cause of all that has gone awry. Holly's expression contorted in a display of righteous anger. Your sudden confrontation in front of the crowd was utterly unwarranted. If you had no intention of proceeding, a quiet cancellation would have sufficed. Every right was mine. I seethed, as a fresh wave of anger surged within me. You and Kalen brought me to shame. I repaid the kindness. Richard's voice rose, a blend of disbelief and frustration. Don't act surprised by the consequences of your actions. We covered half of that wedding expense. Your parents took care of the remaining portion. Yet, the ultimate expense escalated well beyond their initial contributions. We request the return of our funds. There is a debt that must be settled. Let us designate it as $15,000. That represents merely a fraction of our overall losses. I gazed in complete astonishment. Do you truly believe I am indebted to you for $15,000 for a wedding that your daughter undermined? Marjorie's lips contorted. You executed that despicable act with the projector. We hosted distinguished guests at that location. Stakeholders, benefactors, community leaders. You brought us to shame before those who wield power over reputations. We cannot allow you to depart without settling a portion of the expense. The audacity nearly made me chuckle. It's important to remember that none of this would have transpired had Holly chosen to keep her legs closed the evening prior to our wedding. Holly recoiled. You scoundrel. Perhaps if you had been present more often, if you had shown concern for my needs. I interrupted her with a mocking snort. Oh, is it really my fault? Have you ever considered this? Leave this place, the two of you. I refuse to part with even a single dime. Richard approached, his presence looming above me. Are you aware of the gravity of the situation you find yourself in? My presence commands respect in this town. Indeed, that has been your assertion. However, you seem to overlook the fact that I possess that recording featuring your daughter's face along with the corresponding timestamp. If you wish to assert your influence, feel free to do so. We shall unveil the unedited footage for the court of public opinion to scrutinize. Your donors and local officials are bound to enjoy revisiting it. Then we can delve into the matter of who has truly faced humiliation. They gazed, the rage on Richard's visage deepening. Yet, he paused. Holly approached with a fresh perspective, moving closer, her eyes brimming with tears. Daniel, if you would be so kind. Once, we cherished one another deeply. We crafted a life side by side. Let us not obliterate all that we have built over a single misstep. Just a single error? I inquired, my voice trembling with incredulity. It was no mere accident. The decision was yours to make. I witnessed and documented it. There is no turning back now. Now please leave at once. Richard's shoulders drooped in resignation as the weight of his powerlessness settled upon him. Indeed, they might attempt to intimidate me, yet the proof lay firmly in my favor. Marjorie emitted a disdainful sniff. You'll regret this, I said with a casual shrug. I would have regretted marrying your daughter far more than this. With a fierce determination, they burst through the door, the sound of it slamming echoing like thunder, shaking the very frame that held it. My head reclined against the wood once they had departed. An overwhelming tide of fatigue and a poignant sense of relief washed over me. The end has come. There existed neither a wedding nor a fiancé, nor even a best friend. A victory that feels empty, yet remains a victory nonetheless. News traveled swiftly. Friends extended their hands, offering support, expressing shock, or passing judgment. I recounted the same tale once more. The method by which I ensnared them. The reason I unveiled their secrets at the wedding. Some referred to it as brutal, while others deemed it epic. I turned a deaf ear to the naysayers, Kylon sent a single text. I apologize, but it's important for you to grasp this. I chose to overlook it. His employment was swiftly terminated due to a breach of trust. Appropriate. My parents were caught in a whirlwind of emotions, their hearts heavy with the loss of money, yet a sense of relief washed over them that I had narrowly escaped a calamitous union. My father offered my mother words of comfort. Better to part with money than to compromise Daniel's dignity. I made a vow to return what I owe them. The Chambers engaged in damage control, weaving a tapestry of falsehoods regarding my outburst and envy. Yet, the guests perceived the reality. Their standing lay in tatters. Holly, shamed and adrift, wandered among her friends. Perhaps even returning to Kylon, I remained indifferent. I relocated to a more affordable apartment, immersed myself in my work, and gradually reconstructed my life. Heartbreak hung in the air, yet it was anger that propelled me onward as the days turned into weeks. The scandal gradually slipped into the shadows of memory. Nevertheless, I held on to a snippet of that hotel footage, prepared for the moment someone might dare to challenge the truth of what transpired.